Hello, my motor enthusiasts. The 2024 Formula One season has revved into action with an exhilarating start in Bahrain, with practice sessions taking place under the desert sun. The standout performer was none other than Lewis Hamilton, setting a blistering pace for Mercedes in FP2, 0.2 faster than last year's best FP2 time. But it's not just Hamilton stealing the show. George Russell and Fernando Alonso were hot on his heels. However, keep your eyes peeled for Red Bull. They might just be playing a strategic game here. Notably, Max Verstappen faced gear shift issues, and the team could have been running on reduced power. The real contest is expected to play out in long-run pace where Verstappen has an edge. As we wait for the dust to settle, Williams, Sauber, and Haas are revving up for a minor points battle. So buckle up. The first pole position of the 2024 season remains up for grabs, and the battle could go down to the wire. Well, folks, this is Enzo, your trusted steward of all things Formula One, bringing you the latest updates from the world of racing right here on F1 Motor Fever Podcast. Every day we dive deep into the heart of the race, analyzing the twists and turns, the strategies, and the drama.
That's right, Enzo Watts. We leave no stone unturned to give our listeners the best analysis in the business.
Absolutely, William. And speaking of listeners, we want to extend our gratitude to all of you for tuning in. Your support greatly contributes to keeping the engines of F1 Motor Fever Podcast roaring. And if you haven't done so already, be sure to subscribe to our channel, turn on those notifications, drop us a line in the comments, and share with your fellow racing enthusiasts.
It's a simple way to support us, and it also ensures you never miss a beat of the action.
And speaking of action, I'm brimming with anticipation to discuss the recent developments. Trust me, folks, you won't believe what I'm about to reveal. So stick around because this news is a game changer in the racing world. But for now, my dear friends, it's time for us to hit the road and go. Full throttle. I can't help but get excited as we dive into the nitty-gritty of the recent practice sessions. The season kicked in with a bang in sunny Bahrain. Of course, it's worth noting that the schedule was slightly tweaked this year to avoid a clash with Ramadan. The key takeaway here is the second practice session, offering the most reliable gauge of what to expect over the course of the weekend.
Couldn't agree more. The circuit's conditions during FP2 are more representative of the qualifying and race conditions. It's under the cool twilight that teams showcase their true potential. That's when strategies are laid bare, and we see the real pecking order among the teams.
Absolutely. And speaking of strategies, it seems some teams are still playing their cards close to their chest. Red Bull, a team many expect to dominate the season, has been particularly tight-lipped about their performance.
Yes, they appear to be masking their true strength, but in a way, that's the beauty of our sport, isn't it? Always expect the unexpected.
Indeed, and let's not forget about Lewis Hamilton setting a blistering pace for Mercedes, 0.2 faster than the best FP2 time from last year. It's impressive, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. It shows that Hamilton is off to a confident start this season, and confidence on the track can make all the difference. However, his teammate George Russell seemed to be grappling with traction issues. It goes to show that even the best can face hurdles.
As we delve deeper into the second run, we see a marked improvement from George Russell. After tweaking his setup, he comes in just short of Hamilton's pace, a testament to both his talent and adaptability. Meanwhile, Red Bull, with Max Verstappen at the helm, may not have been running at full power, but don't be fooled. There could be more under the hood than they're letting on.
That's very likely. Teams often play it down in practice sessions to not reveal their full potential. It's all part of the strategy.
Agreed. And speaking of strategies, it's worth noting Hamilton's impressive performance. Despite other drivers' improvements, none could match his 1 minute 30.374 seconds. This has set the bar high for the rest of the weekend.
Absolutely. And interestingly, Fernando Alonso comes in as third fastest, followed by Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri. However, Max Verstappen ends the session with a respectable 1 minute 30.851 seconds.
Wow. I can't help but think how amazing the world of Formula One is. Such emotions, such competitiveness, such adrenaline. It's quite something, isn't it? What do you reckon, my lovely audience? Are you as captivated by these practice sessions as we are? We'd love to hear your thoughts. And don't forget to hit that like button if you're enjoying the content. I'm absolutely loving these updates, and I hope you are too. Thanks ever so much for tuning in. Now, let's carry on. For a bit of trivia, did you know that Bahrain was the first Middle Eastern country to host a Grand Prix? The Bahrain International Circuit, also known as the home of motorsport in the Middle East, was inaugurated in 2004. It's been a regular fixture on the Formula One calendar ever since.
That's absolutely right. And speaking of firsts, it's worth noting that the Bahrain Grand Prix was also the first Formula One race to be held under lights, back in 2014. The switch was made to mark the race's 10th anniversary and to help with the heat.
Indeed, and let's not forget the distinct endurance circuit layout of the Bahrain International Circuit. Utilized only once in the 2010 season, this layout is akin to legendary circuits like Spa-Francorchamps and Silverstone. The hot desert winds make it uniquely challenging.
Oh yes, the abrasive surface of the track is known to cause rapid tyre wear, adding another layer of complexity for the teams and drivers. It's these elements that make Formula One such an exhilarating sport, don't you think?
Now, let's talk about Red Bull's performance. Although Verstappen seemed to be lagging behind Hamilton, it was believed that Red Bull was not running at full power. A small final corner mistake by Verstappen may have added to this impression, but it's likely that the Honda-designed powertrains were intentionally toned down. It remains to be seen whether running at full power can close the almost half-second gap. It appears Red Bull is holding back a bit for now.
To be honest, I didn't quite follow. Could you explain that another way?
Certainly. In simpler terms, Red Bull might be playing a strategic game. Although Verstappen did not clock the fastest time and even made a minor error, Red Bull may have deliberately reduced the power output of their Honda-engineered car. This could be a strategy to keep their car fresh, and they might increase the power in the upcoming races to close the gap with Mercedes.
Ah, I see. That's interesting. So it's all about strategy and not showing all your cards at once, right?
Precisely. These teams are always thinking several steps ahead. Now, there appeared to be a few gearshift issues with Verstappen's ride, but those are expected to be resolved by FP3. A driver needs to feel comfortable and confident in their vehicle to extract the maximum performance. And speaking of performance, it looks like Red Bull has a natural advantage in the long runs. Verstappen led the way with an average lap time of 1 minute 36.715 seconds. This suggests that the RB20 can remain consistent in the hands of both drivers. But this is, of course, a snapshot of the current situation. The dynamics can change rapidly in Formula One. Let's delve a bit deeper into the data from the long runs, shall we? Verstappen, as we know, has a comfortable lead, but the battle behind him for the remaining podium spots looks set to be a tight one.
Can you break down the times for us?
Certainly. Behind Verstappen's 1 minute 36.715 seconds average, we have McLaren's Piastri, clocking an average of 1 minute 36.887 seconds over 13 laps.
That's close.
Indeed. However, it's been suggested that Piastri was running with slightly less fuel relative to others on race running, which could influence his timing. Norris, his teammate, recorded an average of 1 minute 37.223 seconds over the same distance. Looking at Mercedes, Russell registered an average time of 1 minute 37.052 seconds over 12 laps, almost on par with Hamilton's average time. Ferrari, on the other hand, was just a fraction of a second behind Mercedes' time, and Leclerc was less than a tenth of a second behind Russell's time.
What about the rest?
Well, Aston Martin's Alonso scored an average of 1 minute 37.292 seconds over 10 laps. Williams, RB, Sauber, Haas, and Alpine followed with their respective times.
This is shaping up to be a thrilling season, isn't it?
Absolutely. It suggests that even the faintest advantage in terms of setup could potentially shuffle the order among the top teams. Red Bull might be leading now, but if its margin at the top does not grow, it could also be susceptible to this shift in order. Aston Martin, while appearing to be at the back of this group in terms of overall pace, the margins between Alonso and the other frontrunners are still small. So buckle up, because we're in for quite the ride this season. Now let's consider how Ferrari might fit into the picture come qualifying, while also considering the bottom 5 teams. We anticipate a change in order among these teams, particularly due to Logan Sargent's reduced fuel load. His American advantage gave him a full 0.3 of a second faster than the top RB run from Ricciardo.
That's a significant advantage, isn't it?
Indeed, it is. Lighter tanks are believed to be the reason for this gap, and also the near 0.7 of a second advantage he held over his teammate Alex Albon. It appears that RB can expect a tight battle with Williams for minor points, with Sauber and Haas very close behind. Alpine, however, seems to be in trouble in both one-lap and longer-run pace.
My old mum used to say, "The race isn't over until the checkered flag waves." It's indeed a close battle.
She was quite right. And speaking of racing, let's hear from some of the drivers themselves. Max Verstappen stated that the practice sessions were not perfect, but they weren't too far off. The long runs were decent, and he thinks they can do a bit better. There were a few small balance issues that they need to work on, but overall, he's quite content with the car. He said today was all about finding the sweet spot and getting the perfect balance in the car.
And what about Lewis Hamilton?
Hamilton expressed satisfaction with the FP2 session. He felt the car was good, but cautioned against getting too ahead of themselves. He acknowledged that they still have more to extract, especially since their long-run pace isn't quite fighting with the Red Bulls yet. However, he did state that he's feeling much happier with the car than last year.
And George Russell?
Russell, like Hamilton, urged caution, stating they're not going to get carried away after one day of practice. However, he did acknowledge that their qualifying pace looked strong and that the improvements they made exceeded their expectations. He also pointed out that Verstappen looked comfortably quickest, and it was very tight with the Ferraris, the McLarens, and the Aston Martins. So they've likely got a real fight on their hands. Charles Leclerc also had something to say. He pointed out that there were no surprises, good or bad, and the car was exactly as they expected it to be. He admitted to a small mistake in FP2, but he's now focusing on tomorrow and looking to make a step forward. He also mentioned that Mercedes looks strong, which is a bit of a surprise.
Well, in the spirit of surprises, who do we think will snatch the first pole of the season?
Now there's the big question. With Mercedes looking stronger than expected and Verstappen consistently quick, it could be anyone's game.
I suppose we'll have all our answers tomorrow, just as Leclerc says.
Indeed, we will. But for now, we can only speculate and wait with bated breath for what promises to be an exciting start to the 2024 Formula One season. William, could you indulge us with a peek at the chatter on the internet?
Certainly, let's see what's buzzing. 1, let's call him Noob at FIFA, says, quote, "A Google Drive containing all the Christian Horner evidence has just been emailed from an anonymous account to hundreds of journalists," unquote.
I say the plot thickens.
It does indeed. Venomizer, let's say 2009, quips, quote, "Google Drive to survive," unquote. Following that, XWobX gives an interesting scenario. Quote, "Episode 1 of Season 7 starts with everyone casually walking around the paddock. Everyone's phone starts going off simultaneously. People start opening it up, and they're greeted with unexpected content. Everyone has faces of surprise," unquote.
Quite the scenario there.
It is. Then, White Phoenix 48 adds, quote, "Don't forget the cut to an obvious and cheeky comment from Buxton," unquote.
Sounds like a lively discussion. What else have you got for us?
Titan Lim adds a new twist, quote, "Otmar goes on holiday, doesn't come back," unquote. Ultra Sus 69 chimes in, quote, "Alpine sacrifice, anyone?" unquote.
Blimey, it's heating up. Anything else?
One more for now. Yellow Fog Light sums it up, quote, "Thermonuclear approach," unquote.
Thermonuclear indeed. Quite the chat going on, I must say. Thank you for joining us today on F1 Motor Fever podcast. We indeed had a wonderful time discussing the ins and outs of the previous race. It's always a pleasure having you all with us. Don't forget to subscribe and activate those notifications so you don't miss out on any future episodes. It makes a massive difference to us. Please, do feel free to share our podcast with your fellow Formula One enthusiasts on WhatsApp, Facebook, Twitter, and even during your weekly pub quiz night. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. Don't you dare miss the next episode. It's going to be a cracker. Remember, we're here every day, so bookmark your calendars.
We're incredibly grateful for all your support, and we can't wait to bring more insightful content your way in the next episode.
Until then, don't forget, pedal to the metal. Keep your gaze on the road. Our channel's content is pure gold. See you next time.